The city of Lagos glittered like a necklace of diamonds against the dark sky, its skyscrapers alive with lights that danced across the waters of the Atlantic. At the heart of the city stood the palatial estate of Michael Adebayo, a billionaire hotel magnate whose name was spoken with both admiration and envy in African business circles. That night, his estate was alive with luxury, a dinner gala that attracted politicians, celebrities, and tycoons. Guests in designer gowns and sharp tuxedos filled the grand ballroom, sipping champagne under crystal chandeliers while a jazz band played soft notes in the background. Yet amid the glamour, Michael's eyes sought only one person, his wife, Adesua. She entered the ballroom like a vision. Her fitted royal blue gown shimmered with every step, her high bun sleek, her diamond earrings subtle but regal. Every head turned to admire her beauty, yet her gaze was cold, her steps measured. She didn't even glance at Michael, though he stood only a few feet away in a black tuxedo that hugged his tall frame. Their marriage had lasted 2 years, but to Michael, it already felt like a lifetime of distance. Everyone envied them, thinking they were Africa's perfect power couple. But behind the scenes, Adesua had made her boundaries clear. She would never share his room. The evening dragged on. Guests laughed, clinked glasses, and exchanged stories of wealth. But Michael's heart was heavy. He watched his wife from across the hall, smiling politely with dignitaries, her laughter polite but never warm. When the last guest finally departed and the music faded, silence fell over the estate. Only the staff remained, quietly clearing tables in modern uniforms, white shirts, and black trousers. Michael loosened his tie, the weight of loneliness pressing on him. Adesua walked past him, toward the grand staircase, her gown flowing elegantly. "Good night, Michael," she said softly, her tone polite but distant. "Adesua," Michael's voice cracked slightly. "Please, we need to talk." She stopped, turning halfway, her figure framed by the glow of the chandelier. Her eyes, deep and steady, pierced him. "About what?" "We've already established boundaries. You live your life. I live mine." Michael's jaw tightened. "Boundaries. We are husband and wife. The world sees us and thinks we are blessed. But behind closed doors, we're strangers." She sighed, folding her arms. "Behind closed doors, Michael, there is no us. There is only your empire, your wealth, your endless board meetings. You wanted a wife to complete your image? But I never signed up for emptiness." Her words cut through him sharper than a knife. He tried to protest, but his lips trembled with unsaid emotions. In silence, he watched her ascend the staircase, her gown trailing like a wall separating him from the love he craved. That night, in his master's suite of marble and gold, Michael sat on the edge of his king-sized bed. The city lights glittered through the vast windows, but his heart was clouded. Above him, he could faintly hear Adesua's footsteps in the separate room she had claimed as hers. His phone buzzed with a message about a billion-dollar hotel deal in Dubai. He tossed it aside. What good was money when the one person he loved couldn't bear to share his presence? Closing his eyes, memories of their first meeting flooded his mind. She had been fierce, independent, unafraid to look him in the eye when everyone else treated him like royalty. She hadn't cared about his cars or his suits. That strength had drawn him in, but somewhere along the line, he had failed her. Morning came, golden sunlight pouring through the estate's glass walls. Staff bustled about in pressed uniforms, their polished shoes tapping softly on the marble floor. Michael descended the staircase in a crisp navy blue suit, ready for yet another business meeting, though his thoughts lingered on Adesua. She appeared at the top of the staircase in a flowing white blouse, tucked into high-waisted trousers, her heels clicking with elegance. Even in simplicity, she radiated a queenly aura. "Adesua," he said gently. She did not stop walking. "Michael," he hesitated. "Can we have lunch today? Just the two of us. No business talk, I promise." She paused, tilting her head. "Lunch, and what would we discuss, if not business?" "Share prices, hotels." The latest empire you're building. Michael's throat tightened. No, I want to talk about us. For a moment, her expression softened, but only slightly. We'll see, she said, her tone neutral as she walked away. Later that afternoon, Michael waited in the presidential suite of his flagship hotel in Victoria Island. The suite was breathtaking, with glass walls overlooking the endless ocean. Modern art adorning the walls and the quiet hum of the city far below. Yet despite the grandeur, Michael felt restless, pacing the room in anticipation. Adesua had agreed to meet him here. When she entered, the atmosphere shifted. She wore a tailored black jumpsuit that hugged her figure with sophistication, her natural beauty accentuated by subtle makeup. She carried herself like a queen, composed and commanding. She sat across from Michael, her posture firm. You asked for this meeting, she said flatly. Say what you need to say. Michael leaned forward, his voice low and vulnerable. I know I've failed you. I've buried myself in work, and I've given you reasons to feel invisible. But Adesua, you are not invisible to me. You never were. Her expression was unreadable. Words are easy, Michael. They've never been your problem. Actions are. He swallowed hard, then reached into his briefcase and pulled out a set of documents. This hotel, he said, sliding the papers toward her. I've been planning to transfer partial ownership, not to another businessman. To you. Her eyes widened, shock flickering across her face. Me. Yes, Michael said firmly, 'cause I don't want a wife who feels trapped. I want a partner. Someone who walks beside me, not behind me. This isn't about money. It's about trust. It's about us. For the first time in years, Adesua's composure faltered. She stared at the documents, then at him, her lips parting as though to speak, but no words came out. The walls she had built around her heart seemed to tremble, only for a moment. And in that fragile silence, something shifted. Neither of them spoke, but both felt it's a hint of change. The possibility that one night soon could alter the course of their lives forever. That night, as the Lagos skyline shimmered under the glow of countless city lights, Adesua sat in her private suite at the estate. The ownership documents Michael had given her resting on the polished oak table before her, their words echoing in her mind, I don't want a trophy wife. I want a partner. For the first time in 2 years of marriage, her carefully built walls trembled. And as she sipped water from a crystal glass, her reflection in the mirror showed not just elegance, but confusion. She had always seen herself as strong, unwilling to be defined by a man's wealth, and yet Michael's gesture was not about control but surrender. Downstairs, Michael stood on the balcony in a charcoal robe, gazing out at the moonlit gardens, the soft breeze carrying scents of jasmine. And though his empire was vast, all he wanted was the woman in the room above him. Days passed, and whispers of their strained marriage began to shift among their circle. For Michael and Adesua were suddenly seen together, arriving at events in sleek black cars, she in modern gowns of silver, navy or ivory, and he in tailored suits. Yet the air between them still carried an invisible tension, a fragile line between hope and heartbreak. One evening, at a gala hosted in one of Michael's luxury hotels, Adesua walked in wearing an emerald silk gown, her choice bold and commanding, and, while guests marveled at her poise, Michael could not tear his eyes away, though he remained respectful of her guarded distance. The night was filled with laughter, clinking glasses, and deals whispered over champagne. But when an influential investor arrogantly questioned Adesua's capability in managing part of the hotel business, dismissing her as just the billionaire's wife, the room grew heavy. Adesua's eyes flashed like steel, and she stood tall, her voice calm but piercing as she reminded the crowd that she held degrees in economics, had once led her own consultancy firm, and that ownership was not gifted to her as decoration, but as recognition of her worth. The room fell silent, admiration and respect blooming among the guests, while Michael, watching quietly, felt a surge of pride he had not known in years. Later that night, as the gala ended, Michael approached her by the hotel terrace. city lights glowing behind them, and whispered with genuine awe, "You were incredible tonight, for the first time." Her lips curved into a faint smile, not one of duty, but of something softer, though fleeting. Yet change was never simple. Weeks passed, and though Adiswa allowed him closer, she still retreated to her own room at night, her heart unsure whether to trust. One rainy evening, a thunderstorm rumbled through the estate, lightning illuminating the glass walls as Adeswa sat reading in her lounge. But when power flickered and went out, leaving the mansion in darkness, she instinctively sought Michael, finding him in his study with a candle burning low. For a long moment, neither spoke, the sound of rain filling the silence, until Michael rose, offering her his seat by the flickering flame. "You don't have to keep running from me," he murmured, his voice breaking with vulnerability, and though she opened her mouth to respond, the words faltered as a crack of thunder shook the windows. Stepped closer, his face lit by the glow, and for the first time in 2 years, she did not move away. That night, Adeswa did not return to her separate room. Instead, she stayed, sitting near him as rain pounded outside, their silence heavy but comforting. And when exhaustion overtook her, she allowed herself to rest against him. By dawn, when sunlight streamed across the estate, their lives had shifted forever, for one night had changed everything. From then on, the transformation was gradual but real. They began to share breakfasts in the glass-walled dining hall, long walks in the lush gardens, and late-night talks in the study where Michael listened instead of commanding. He invited her into board meetings, not as decoration but as equal, where she impressed his executives with sharp insights, her tailored suits and calm authority silencing any doubt. Slowly, the city no longer whispered about a broken marriage, but about a power couple redefining partnership. Yet the true test came at a high-profile international conference in Johannesburg, where Michael was set to announce the expansion of his hotel chain. Rumors swirled that rivals would challenge him, undermine his credibility. But Adeswa, in a sleek white gown with gold accessories, walked onto the stage beside him, her presence radiant, her words powerful as she spoke about vision, unity, and Africa's future in global hospitality. Cameras flashed, the audience erupted in applause, and Michael looked at her with pride not of ownership, but of love. That night, back in their penthouse suite overlooking the city, Adeswa finally turned to him with softened eyes, confessing that she had feared losing herself in his shadow, but had begun to see he truly wanted her light to shine. Michael, his voice trembling, promised her that he wanted not just a wife but a partner, equal in every way. And as they stood together by the vast windows, city lights glittering like stars, she took his hand willingly, fully, without hesitation. That was the night she no longer retreated to her own room. The night their marriage transformed from a performance into something real, alive, and unbreakable. Moral, true love and respect in a marriage cannot be bought with wealth, status, or appearances, is built on trust, partnership, and valuing each other's worth. No matter how powerful or wealthy someone becomes, a relationship can only thrive when both hearts are equal, supportive, and willing to walk side by side.